Fucking the UVTV, motherfucker. I'm at a kid spiritual ass and dudes for my people. On God. Nia nigga fulfill man, yeah. And yeah, what does a succubus and a man eater do? Choosing forceful emotions over natural correspondence or just common sense, just in general, right? So when it comes to succubuses, right, it's just a demon taking a female form to have sexual intercourse with men in your sleep. That's just the simplified definition of what that is. Now, it's just a state of being, a state of awareness. It's a conditioning. So, based upon that conditioning at the highest level, based upon the observations and the experiences, when it comes to thoughts and feelings, and from it going through thoughts and feelings in the mind, the psyche, that's your light body, the metaphysics of it all, and then those metaphysics are going to become physical. Your thoughts and feelings end up becoming the adrenaline and organ and blood flow, inspiration, or the thing that's going to make you motivated to carry out a physical action or a physical shape and form, and that's your second body, your second container, so to speak. And then it's going to create what we look as society, culture, the external world, and all that type of jazz. You know what I'm saying? Based upon the different tools and technology and devices that we make up to make life the way it is in the external world, so we can keep on cultivating as a society and civilization and government, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, as a country, as a continent, as the world. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever the fuck you want to call it. So it's us gaining a grounding basis onto something. So when it comes to a succubus, right, it's just look at it like this, because I don't want y'all to get spooked out because of the title, based upon it being a succubus and it being like a man eater. Because a lot of females like to play with this type of correspondence when it comes to, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm a succubus. Oh, I'm a real freak. Oh, I'm a real, you know what I'm saying, man eater, and things of that nature. Taking advantage of men, and for me taking advantage of the men, right? I'm able to drain away their pockets and things of that nature based upon me utilizing my feminine wiles. Look at that as my attractiveness. And attractiveness don't just go based upon physical attractiveness. It goes based upon the energy signature of what they in. So they're able to draw attention. So based upon attention span, it's just like an awareness. So when you build on an awareness and you gain more attention span, right? It's more things that people can pay attention to, and then you containing what you're paying attention to is leading into attraction. So it's based upon the masculine and feminine, the men and the women, the Adams and the Eves, the walking attention span or the walking attraction, the walking frequency or the walking vibration, the walking thought, the walking feeling. Like I was saying before, like with Adam and Eve and stuff like that. So you have sex within the mind first. So that's that sexual intercourse. You're taking two or more different energies to create another energy. That's all that is. So from you having a thought and idea about something is going to turn that thought and idea, and having sex with that emotion and feeling is going to combine together to create a whole nother thought, idea, feeling, and emotion. So the baby thoughts will be like the sons, and then the baby feelings and emotions will be like the daughters, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And then you end up germinating those offspring and those seeds, and then they're gonna run its own course until they become an adult, and then have their own children, aka their own offspring and their own seeds, based upon them being raised by their parents. And before that, it leads into a lineage, like the grandparents and the ancestors, and it's gonna show that family tree. So it's just like an extension of that branch off of the source and the starting point, aka the Garden of Eden. And I mean that in like a metaphorical sense. So that Garden of Eden of what y'all grew in general and what y'all cultivated on the land based upon the different thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions of y'all family and y'all lineage, and what y'all known for based upon attention and attraction. And that's the simplest way to put it. You know what I'm saying? To sum that up. So when it comes to the men, right? We like to externalize things instead of internalizing things. We like to think outside the box instead of being inside the box. We like to provide a direction. That's why we get erect instead of us being in a womb or a container. So based upon that, we rather go based upon an expression instead of holding on to a bunch of different expressions, which is just reception, and that's more feminine energy. So instead of holding on to it and not expressing ourselves, we rather express even if it look crazy or fuck. You know what I'm saying? Because it's that externalizing masculine type of energy. I rather just put it out there and see where it go, instead of just holding on to it based upon insecurity, based upon expectation. That's why a woman can be walking insecurity sometimes, or to make it not be a thing where, oh, I'm coming off like a like I'm part of the patriarchy, or I'm misogynistic, or whatever the fuck y'all be making up. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at it like feelings and emotions. So it's like you being in your feelings. So it's gonna make it harder for you to be creative and express yourself the way you want to, because you're in your feelings about something. Because it's based upon expectation and validation, and how people gonna feel about this. And I can't go outside this circumstance because I gotta be contained into this. I gotta nurture and care about that because mama said so. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like that type of energy. So it's gonna be making it harder for you to create another pocket or another way, or for you to express yourself, because you always worrying and holding on to things instead of letting go of certain things to make it so you can see yourself in a spectrum. You know what I'm saying? So from you, because you know what I'm saying, as a spirit, we're no shape and form. So from us being basically walking spectrums based upon our observations and our experiences, right, is always gonna turn into another way of how to go about something. And then we gonna create a comfort zone and be contained into that to create another comfort zone or another pocket, another way that's brand new, that's not as comfortable or not as contained, or not as expected as what it was before, based upon what we already done did already. You know what I'm saying? So it's like expanding your horizons, so to speak. You expanding your horizons above the horizon so it can become below the horizon, so it can be contained, and we can take all the fruit from it, so we can make another seed to make a better tree, so we can make more fruit, and more fruit leads to more gold, so to speak. I'm speaking like really spiritual. I'm speaking like really metaphorical, but it's kind of like finding some new gold, minerals, gems, food for thought, finding more juicier, more enticing fruits. And that's like us figuring out how to find different charisma, different characteristics, different animals, right? Which leads to better species or better mechanisms of how that can play out. So look at it like how humans, we're mammals and we're a type of animal, but we're humans. So our correspondence and our intelligence is higher than any other animal, and then we can domesticate animals and put them in zoos and shit like that, and not the other way around. So you can look at that as humans are trying to figure out how to be beyond our humanistic intelligence and vessels, so we can take a higher shape and form, so we don't have to be in the humanistic, or human vessel, right, that's adjacent to animals. It could be something broader than that. So the same way how a human can domesticate an animal so it can get out of its wild barbaric uh uh beastly natures and stuff like that. That's what humans are doing when it comes to the atmosphere, based upon what the sun is moon, based upon the seasonal transitions, and the sun and moon is doing on a broader scale and stuff like that. It's us learning from nature. You know what I'm saying? It's us learning from Mother Nature and stuff like that. And then that's going to turn into a whole different thing based upon different civilization and culture and their point of view of how they look at that, based upon, you know what I'm saying, what be going on in the world, and how can we understand it based upon culture, languages, education, business, religion, everything that make the world go round, so we can keep on going in motion, so it can keep on being free flowing, so we can keep on creating more, and things of that nature. It can keep on going in its mechanism, its process, its cycle. That's why I've been saying a lot of shit about processes, mechanisms, and cycles. It's not based upon dichotomies. So back to the main point. Yeah, it's a demon taking a female form to have a sexual intercourse with men in their sleep. So it's going to lead to energies of taking, robbing, manipulating, and deceiving, because that's what a demon does. A demon is just a descending, deadly, deified, depressive, degenerate man, right? So from it being but based upon, and then it's more catered to a feminine energy, because it's a succubus. So it's like you being in a demonic feeling or emotion, so motherfuckers don't get spooked out, right? A demon just means acting out in a lower nature or a deadly nature. So something that's harmful more than helpful. It's something that's more counterproductive or depressive or degenerate. It doesn't help you create another way of how to go about something, aka high hanging fruit, everlasting, eternal, or something that's from a broader angle, like with the angels. That's why it's always that angel, the angel and the devil on your shoulder type dichotomy and stuff like that. Do I want to go about this in a pure, natural, higher angle, or do I want to go about this in a more manipulating, cold-blooded, deceiving, underhanded, hellish, devilish type of way? You know what I'm saying? So I can manipulate something instead of doing it in its natural, the most natural correspondence. I want to oppose and go against that aka I want to act like a demon, a degenerate. So it's not you trying to act balanced or act in moderation, trying to even out the odds. You just only want to act odd. So it's kind of like you acting out to degenerate. You're not trying to make it even and balanced. You just want something that's supposed to be even and balanced so it can be even and balanced for you and nobody else. You know what I'm saying? It's always going to be that take energy. It's always going to be that drain type of energy. And you end up being like a drainer. And you end up being like a drainer and stuff like that. So it's like an energy vampire, so to speak. You end up taking and sucking it for everything it's worth and taking his life force, aka a bloodsucker. You end up taking all his life force instead of you trying to provide life force. You trying to provide sentience. You trying to provide passions. You trying to provide a better circumstance to make it so they can have their own pocket and they can be independent and free flowing. You only want to be the only motherfucker who can act out in their energy and stuff like that. But you have to take from others on a high percentage scale just so you can survive. So that shows you lack ability when it comes to that. That's why you only know how to act out in a hellistic, devilish nature. You don't want to look at something from a higher angle. You want to keep saying contained into that one specific way of how you want to express yourself based upon your desires and your expectations. And then the devil loves expectation. The devil loves manipulating and stuff like that. So y'all don't get lost into the words I'm saying based upon monotheism, Abrahamic religion, Christianity, and stuff like that, and how y'all look at the devil. It's just like an energy signature. So if you don't know how to live in moderation, right, sometimes you have to do something from a higher angle, a better way that's more broad. And then sometimes you have to act cold-blooded. Sometimes you have to act mean or cruel, but it's to make it so you can protect yourself so motherfuckers can't just play with you based upon you being able to be free and independent and free-flowing and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? For you to hold something that's sacred to you so you can maintain it, sometimes you have to do certain tactics like that so motherfuckers just don't go over the line. You know what I'm saying? So motherfuckers don't take down the gates and you being like the esoteric gatekeeper when it comes to your imagination. That's why it's important to protect your children, your thoughts and feelings, your thoughts and feelings, your baby thoughts, which is your sons, and your baby emotions, which is your daughters. And that leads to how we like that in reality, protect all the women and children, and then the men got to be men, so they got to be built and strong and create and build a circumstance to make it so they have something to be contained into so they can keep on providing and creating more and stuff like that. So from you being a strong spirit is going to make you have a strong mind, which is going to make it so you have a stronger organ, which is going to make you last longer or live longer, so to speak. So you can be a walking example of what it means to be a real man. You know what I'm saying? So from you being a real man, you able to tough it out. So it's you being able to take on the opposite energy, the feminine energy, emotional intelligence, feelings. You're able to take it. You know what I'm saying? You're able to take it compared to somebody else on a higher percentage scale, because you acted out as a real man. You was able to express yourself in a way to where you're able to be more vulnerable or naked, spiritually speaking. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to wear a lot of layers. You can just come as you is, and you don't gotta hide it or cover it up through different emotions and feelings or different manipulations and stuff like that to make it or exaggerate it. You know what I'm saying? You don't gotta exaggerate it, or you don't have to act out in a degenerate nature to make that be seen. You gonna naturally let it be produced, so to speak. So, like I was saying before, a demon is just a descending, deadly, deified, you know what I'm saying, like idol worship and stuff like that, depressive and a degenerate man, aka getting lost into sin. So that's you being mixed in too much. That's all sin is. Sin is just you getting lost into a certain desire. So you're getting you getting too caught up in the mix. You're trying to appeal to too many different people who probably ain't your people and stuff like that, right? And it's gonna take you away from your natural essence, your natural natures and stuff like that. Look at that as just like you being yourself and what you like to do behind closed doors and things that are your natural gifts and talents and stuff like that, that you don't have to think that hard about, or you're not really trying to impress anybody. You're doing it just because you just like to do it based upon your natural ability. When you get too mixed in, it's going to turn into you're trying to appeal to different pockets, basically. Like you're trying to appeal to people outside of yourself too much, basically. So it's like you catering to an expectation or the other people's desires or what other people want you to do instead of what you want to do on a higher percentage scale. Because there's nothing wrong with making it a culture to make it so, other people can be a part of it, but you still have to have your own individualistic way of how to go about it. And if you don't know yourself and you're a lost spirit and you think more sheep-minded, but you don't know how to be the leader, you don't know how to be the shepherd, you don't know how to be the walking cross, walking transition, the walking example, the walking star of what something look like, you're just gonna get caught up in everyone else's light, and then too much light can end up blinding you. So you end up letting a lot of things go over your head because you have the rose colored glasses on. So from you having the rose colored glasses on or the pitch black glasses on and stuff like that, you ain't gonna be able to see it clearly or see it properly. AKA look at that as you don't know how to clear out the room. So from you not having that mental, spiritual clarity and stuff like that, right? You're not gonna be able to see it in the right way because you got that clouded judgment of other stuff in your mind. And if you don't know how to let that go, it's going to hold you back, spiritually speaking. So it's like you having a lot of emotional baggage and you're not willing to let go of that weight so you can be more lighter as a spirit. Like from you being light as a spirit and stuff like that, right? It's going to make it so you're more free flowing instead of holding on to things that are heavy and dense, and all that heaviness and dense and that pressure of the gravity of the situation is going to stop you from you being yourself because of all the mental pressures that come with it and stuff like that. And if you can't handle it, the shit is just going to crush you. So it's kind of like, it's like being like really depressed or like suicidal, so to speak. So that's literally you doing that in reality, right? So depression is just you being deeply pressed against something. So based upon all the different pressures and stuff like that, all the way down to societal norms, validation, expectation, catering to certain people's thoughts and feelings and stuff like that on a higher percentage scale instead of doing what you want to do. That's how you ended up being so depressed. And then you can end up getting so comfortable doing that. When you be out of it, you feel like you're wrong for doing that. You know what I'm saying? You feel like you wrong for going against that. But really, it's you holding yourself back, and you in a comfort zone out of you holding yourself back. It's harder for you to express yourself the way how you really look at something and willing to go through the ups and downs and not always going in your favor because life go through you, not for you or against you, right? You're not willing to go through that negativity, or you're not willing to go through that transition of, on a higher percentage scale, people not fucking with you and you going through that expectation energy. I'm trying to appeal to all audiences or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to appeal for everybody and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, without realizing that for it to be substantiated, you have to go through the ups and downs. So sometimes it's not going to always go the way you expect in your mind. But if you retain it enough to where you keep on going anyway, you ending up in a pocket or end up finding out something about yourself, different spectrums about yourself that you probably didn't even realize of how it's going to go. That's why it's about the journey, not the destination itself. So yeah, we're going to have desires that we want to accomplish and different dreams and different visions of what we're visualizing of where we see ourselves and trying to germinate them seeds so we can actualize that potential. But you're never going to get to that potential without going through the ups and downs of it not being actualized, of your mistakes. But based upon those mistakes, you able to take those mistakes and make it so you can be seen in a better light or have a better way to cultivate those seeds based upon your faults. You know what I'm saying? That's why your strengths, that's why your weaknesses can become your strengths. And the only time your strengths become your weaknesses is when you end up depending on that specific way of how to go about something and not be willing to be open towards another way of how to express yourself, so to speak, to make it like super simple. But in general, a demon likes being stuck into its desires or getting stuck into its wants. It's not about wants and needs. And once you get out of your wants and needs, that's when you get what you deserve. Once you get out of the economy of something going for you or against you, the world going against you, or the world is going all in my favor and stuff like that, right? Based upon the wants that you have and your wants and needs and your desires, right? You able to get out of those lower beastly, wild, undomesticated natures, and then you able to tame the beast. Look at taming the beast as you taming that thought, feeling, or emotion and feeling, so you don't get drunk off of it, and then you don't turn into like a drainer, a energy vampire, or a degenerate. So that's like you being an opposer. So you always gonna find something to not like, or you end up always coming off like a hater, and you always look for the things that you don't like instead of the things that you do like, even if it's something that you're not used to, so to speak. You automatically go towards the things that are they probably not even that bad. It's just you exaggerate in your mind as it being bad because it's something that you're in the dark about. It's something that is hidden towards you. It's something that you don't know everything that's going on, but it's you going against life. You're not always going to know everything that's going to go on, despite that being the fact. So really, it's about the fact of you trying to find your lane or find your pocket regardless. That's the main point. And God like to see that. God is just all possibilities. So in general, right, when it comes to a succubus, because a succubus and a man eater kind of go hand in hand. That's why I kind of put them together. But a succubus is just a female demon, so to speak. And from it being a female demon, liking to have sexual intercourse with men in their sleep, right? If they sleep, it's like going through soul sleep. So it's kind of like you're doing it, but you're doing it in a way that's so covert, they don't even realize it because they sleep. So it's kind of, and then even if they know they don't, even if they know what you're doing, if they know you're taking advantage of them, they're willing or they're allowing you to do it because of the gratification they feel and stuff like that from you sucking their dick or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I want to make that like mad simple, like based upon how y'all be talking about prostitutes and hoes and stuff like that, if I want to make that an example in reality, they're gonna be sleep onto that. They know what you're doing, but they're gonna keep it frozen. They're not gonna warm up to the idea to I should stop them taking advantage of me. I should stop this female, this succubus from taking advantage of me. They're going to keep allowing you to do so because of the gratification they feel from you draining away from them and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You taking their money, you tricking on them and stuff like that. So a man eater is just the feelings or your emotional feelings going against thoughts because it's a mechanism, right? So you have an idea about something, and then after having an idea about something, that spark, that first intent, right, is going to turn into you thinking about that idea, you thinking about that seed. And then from you thinking about it long enough, eventually it's going to turn into a feeling. You're going to feel a way about that idea, and then that feeling is going to become a multitude of different emotions. So you're going to end up being motivated and moved. And from you being essentially moved, emotion, right? That's when it becomes something that you want to contain, and that's something that's going to basically turn into like a desire and something you want to nurture and take care of. Whether it was a degenerate ass thought, whether it was a degenerate ass feeling, right? It's something that you want to maintain. It's something that you want to be seen for as, and you want to take care of at the same time. So it's like the father and the mother, the father, sun, mother, moon, the father, sky, mother, land. So you want to end up taking care of the land, and this is the atmosphere, or this is the world that you want to be seen for based upon you being a walking representation of that thought and feeling. And then a man eater is just, you know what I'm saying? A man eater is eating away at those thoughts. So it's basically like you getting lost into a certain emotion and feeling. Like anybody who's in that state of being a succubus and stuff like that, you're so demonic when it comes to that emotion and feeling. You're such an energy vampire. You're such a drainer. You're such a taker. You're such an opposer to certain thoughts and feelings. That's what you're doing, right? Because a lot of people, when it comes to like females who be calling themselves man eaters and stuff like that, even though niggas can play at this energy too, but it's more catered towards like a feminine energy, right? You're eating away at certain thoughts and ideas to create another way of looking at something. You don't want to have more awareness. You don't want to have more attention span. You rather be looked at as attractive. You want to draw attention. So from you drawing attention, you're just taking what people are paying attention to, and you only want people to be in your bubble, basically. You only want people to be in your bubble of how you feel about things. So that's when it turns into what y'all be saying, like women who act out in a bad attitude or have like a really bad attitude or like a bad temperament. You know what I'm saying? Like a cold temperament, them being cold-blooded, them being attached, them not giving a fuck. So from them not being warmed up to the idea of another way of how to think about something, they only want to be contained in that specific emotion and feeling. And they basically gonna start acting out in a witch type of energy, a bitch witch type of energy. They don't want you to think otherwise. They only want you to be in this emotion and feeling so they can keep on taking advantage of whatever intellectual property that you trying to express at the moment and stuff like that. And then that can turn into different dichotomies of what y'all be calling prostitutes, what y'all be calling hoes, what y'all be calling tricks, what y'all be calling, you know what I'm saying? Like energy vampires and stuff like that. So that's what a succubus and a man eater do. in general. They don't want you to be in some manly like energy. They don't want you to direct the energy somewhere else. They only want you to be consumed, or they only want you to be drunk off that specific emotion and feeling and be so absorbed into it that you feel weird if you're not paying attention to it. You feel weird if you're not overly absorbed into that. You feel weird if you're not acting like a pay pig, so to speak. And this is not me hating. I'm just trying to explain the energy signature so motherfuckers understand what the fuck I'm talking about. So, yeah, they're just a seductive female or a seductive feeling and emotion. They know how to utilize their attraction to gain attention. That's why when it comes to females, right, they have more emotional intelligence, and in men, they have more logical intelligence. And women utilize their emotional intelligence to gain more logic because they lack it, and then men use their logical intelligence to gain more emotional intelligence because they lack that. So that's how we help each other and things get balanced out. But you have to do things from its natural mechanism. It's the men who come first, and then the women hold on to something and make it mature, and then it's going to lead to you coming up with another men or another idea, another thought, and then it's going to add to more attention span, and you can make another first intent, so you can create another way how to go about something, not get too lost into a specific emotion and feeling. That's why when it comes to a lot of females and things of that nature, they be too slow to stuff sometimes because they be holding on to too many things, which makes them slow instead of fast. So it's them having that emotional baggage, and they don't know how to get out their feelings, and niggas know how to just not give a fuck about that feeling and emotion and have another idea or another way of how to think about that emotion and feeling. So they would rather intellectualize or get more informed or pick apart an emotion and feeling than actually feel it itself. That's why we feel weak when we feel like we're in our feelings about something and we ain't being a real man right now and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's an energy signature thing. It's a natural correspondence. So in general, right? On a higher percentage scale, when they don't want to actually go with the flow of some natural correspondence or common sense, aka turning a thought and idea and making it into an emotion and feeling, and then they end up acting demonic, aka them being a man eater, them acting like a succubus and stuff like that, right? They just want to drain away from you thinking about it in another way. They don't want you to look at it in a higher angle. They only want you to pay attention to that low-hanging fruit, something that's monetary, something that's temporary, something that's deadly. So it's harmful, and it's like a instant gratification type of, it's like you being lost into instant gratification, basically. Instead of you being gratified for something that's more everlasting or long-standing or stood the test of time, something that's, you know what I'm saying, from you creating another direction or you creating a broader thought and idea. So that's why they always have to come up with different ways of how to take, so to speak, and how powerful they end up getting lost into that energy. And how long it's going to take for them to let that feeling or emotion go so they can create another feeling or emotion or another thought and another idea. So just in general, right, it's a predatory type of energy, right? So from it being a predatory type of energy, and you can tell that just from the fact a succubus is just a demon taking a female form it's just a demon taking a female form to have sexual intercourse with the men in their sleep. So from them being sleep on it, you took something from them without them realizing it, just in general. So it's always going to be on some, like, without going too far, like some SA type of energy or some graping type of energy and stuff like that. When it's like you being like a spiritual predator, right? And don't get lost into the words that I'm saying right now, because just for me saying predator, motherfuckers gonna be like, oh, what the fuck? Oh, you trying to justify this and that? No, understand what the fuck I'm talking about, right? So it's you praying on something. So the same way how y'all pray to Jesus, Jesuit Christ and stuff like that. Okay, that's you praying on something. So it's you being the spiritual predator. You're trying to hunt something. So you being the creator instead of you being the creation. You're being the predator instead of you being the prey. You're hunting something instead of you being hunted. So from you hunting that emotion and feeling or that desire or that passion, or you visualizing yourself being in a certain pocket, you trying to accomplish your goal, that's what you're doing. So from you utilizing that predatory energy, you're trying to prey on it so you can contain it, so you can capture it, so you can consume it, so you can have it in your hands. You know what I'm saying? It's like having the world in your hands, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So you could have it, so you can feel that that validation of accomplishing something, so to speak. So it's just you capturing and containing it. So it turns from an energy of something you can't depend on, but now it's something you can depend on in general. So from you turning it into something that coexists with you that you can depend on, that's you capturing it. You just can't turn that codependency into addiction and stuff, because a lot of demons or a lot of people who act out in that nature, right? That's like you getting lost into a certain shape and form, because as a spirit we like to create shapes and forms. Once you get too attached and contained to that one shape and form and stuff like that, it's going to make it harder for you to let things go. And we see that on a broader scale when it comes to us being spirits in a body coming back. So if you don't know how to let go of the external world, if you don't know how to let go of the body, your physical body and your flesh, your organs, if you don't know how to let go of your light body, aka your psyche, your mind, you ain't gonna be able to be in that free spirited nature of you coming back or you being reborn or you being reincarnated. But you have to let go of all that so you can create another way, create another space or another state of awareness or another state of being. And people can feel that natural essence and that natural essence and substance of who you was. So you're probably you're not gonna have the same body and you're not gonna have the same mind, but you're still gonna be a spirit in a body. And your individual spirit is just your soul. So people can feel your soul of the state of being or the essence of what you are. It's just not. It's just probably not gonna came. It's not. It's probably not gonna come. It's not even probably. It's not gonna come in the same shape and form. It's not gonna come in the same mind and body. And it's not going to be the same external world representation. That's like a trend, and that was trendy 10 years ago, but that's not the trend no more. So you can't come at that at the same angle, shape, and form, even if it goes through a revival, right? Because people want to relive the classic period. It's going to be what's the word? It's going to be like a renaissance. You have to put it through a revival to bring that energy back, but you have to bring it back in a new way. It can't come back in the same exact way how it was 10 years ago, because it's not in the same circumstance it was 10 years ago, so to speak. So you have to update it. So it's really just that, not downgraded. So just in general, it's from you updating it instead of downgrading it. That's how you get out that lower nature. But in general, right, it's based upon you doing things in moderation. So it's not to say that you can't act out in an incubus, succubus type of way. It's not to say that prostitutes or man eaters and stuff like that, right, are necessarily bad. But when you try to enforce something into a forceful emotion, like kind of like the title of the video, right? It's choosing forceful emotions over natural correspondence or common sense. Instead of you letting it run its course through its natural processing mechanism, it's going to turn into, after a while, you're trying to burn something out. So you're trying to drain something from all its worth. So it's you forcing an emotion and feeling to make someone be in that sentiment so they can stay in that world or stay in that bubble. But it's it's just basically you making a circumstance to where they can't warm up to something else. It is you making them like a mental slave, so to speak. You don't want them to utilize their free will or think another way. You don't want them to be free flowing and things of that nature. So even if you act out in those, vampire energy, vampire suckers, man eater energies, the way how you can get more grace is they want you to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's when they leave their energies like pay pigs and stuff like that. No, they want to act like a simp, so to speak. They want to act like a simp. They want you to drain something. They want you to act in that nature and stuff like that. And you understanding how to do that in moderation. So it's you creating something, and then from you creating something is going to be one of your creations. But then after that creation to run its course, now you have to create another creation to update it so it can stay maintained, so it can be everlasting, not something that's monetary or like you capitalizing off of something, not based upon manipulation or exaggeration. So if you don't know how to do that, that's how you can end up being blinded by your own light and thinking your shit don't stink. And from you being blinded in your own light, you end up being unable to see and not able to take off the rose-colored, dark-tinted glasses to make it so you can't see things clearly. And then you're going to end up exaggerating what you done created to make it look like, oh, it's the best shit in the world, when really is you try to find little ways to try to keep something going that already done run its course. And now you have to let that die out so you can leave space or room to create another way of how to go about something. So you can spark up another idea that's warm, hot, enticing that people can be a part of. And you can find some flavorful fruit or find some new gold that people look at that as a gem, or people can look at that as food for thought, or people can look at that as really insightful. People can look at that as really creative, and people will look at it in a way that's mentally sound, and it's gonna come off as common sense. So it makes sense to do it in that way. And sense just don't mean physical senses and stuff like that. That's why you have to be sensitive to the senses and be the spiritual sensei, so to speak. So even on a broad scale, beyond just a human, it makes sense to play out in that characteristic based upon what's going on reality. And then you end up making a new circumstance or a new pocket, a new lane that people can be a part of in that little culture, community, or whatever, that ends up being something brand new that don't get outdated as fast compared to you trying to uphold something that's already old and outdated, and it don't even work in the same pocket no more. You know what I'm saying? It don't even work in the same circumstance, and you learn how to be in your more angelic energies, aka you having a higher angle instead of you thinking in a more demonic energy. You doing something based upon expectation. You getting lost into sin, or you trying to act out that bad fruit that's more harmful than helpful. So that's like you eating something that's poisonous, like a poison berry and stuff like that, and it actually causes more harm, or it causes you to not be as productive, and it's actually degenerate. It's actually counterproductive. It's actually way more harmful for you to act out in that nature compared to you looking at something from a higher angle, or you eating something that's a high-hanging fruit that's way more juicy and enticing, so to speak. So that's how you end up figuring out the art of deduction. So you can deduce that that same thing don't work in the same way, so it don't turn into something like you acting like a spiritual crackhead, or you end up creating different ways to be harmful towards yourself, or it don't turn into like you know what I'm saying, like you acting out some addiction type of energy. So you always gonna add on to something, thinking it's gonna change something up from you adding all that energy to it, but really it's gonna make it more heavy. It's not gonna be as creative. It's not gonna be as enticing, because it's not something that's creative or something that people can see on a broad, lighter scale. It's something that's more heavy, and it is gonna turn into you bearing one's cross. So it's gonna lead to that torment. It's gonna lead to you holding on to a whole bunch of different energies that you really need to let go of. So it can so it can be, so that seed could be made in the right environment, instead of you trying to grow that seed and then end up developing, but ends up making a lot of poisonous, harmful fruit, or it's not gold, it's really just coal. So from it being coal, it's something that's not as resourceful. So from it not being as resourceful, but you're trying to exaggerate this coal, like this the best bag of coal compared to this bag of coal type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you're trying to make it seem like it's more than what it actually is. That's when it leads the energies of you just a degenerate. You know what I'm saying? You just acting out a demon because you're getting lost into the energy of expectation and it being contained, or it being too mixed into a whole bunch of different pockets that it never needed to be in that pocket in the first place. You know what I'm saying? You added on, you know what I'm saying? You already didn't added on too many energies to the idea, so now it's not even as enticing no more, because you spent too long worrying about a whole bunch of different things that you should have never even had as a care or had as a worry when it comes to expressing yourself in that light. You know what I'm saying? You end up clouding up the thing that made it enticing in the first place, because you waited too long to drop the song, so to speak. If you was like an artist and stuff like that, you was holding on to the idea for too long, and now you can't even actualize that idea because it didn't rain its course. It's not going to be as interesting like how it was 10 years ago if you just dropped that. 5 years ago, if you just dropped that song when that was a time to make a song like that, because that was the wave. You know what I'm saying? Like, so after a while, it just turns into attention-seeking type of energies, and it's showing how weak creatively or spiritually that you actually are. Instead of you letting things naturally come towards you, you feel the need to force your way into a situation or manipulate it and act out in ways to, you know what I'm saying, capitalize or commodify the situation so it go more in your favor. But it's just you being an attention seeker. You feel the need to force people to be aware or force people to pay attention to you, instead of people just naturally being drawn to what you got to offer and things of that nature. So it's you kind of run away from your natural talent and gift, and you making people forcefully by making a narrative, making a agenda, you know what I'm saying, manipulate the situation to make it seem like, oh, how capable you are, but it's really just you exaggerating it to make it look more than what it actually is, and that's really it.